action. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deeply Rooted Podcast. I am your host, Kevin, also joined by my producer and co-host, Gylan. How you doing, Gylan?
What's up, my man? How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. A lot of things happened in this last week. Actually, today, whole bunch of craziness, but which is perfect for this week's topic. Today, we're going to be going over confronting regret. I will also be talking about an online platform for all things related to life skills and working out and other programs, which I'll get into later, a company called KIBU HQ. But before I do that, just want to do a weekly recap of things that have been going on. I'll start with today. Today, as I was going to go get a haircut, just finished work, having a good workout, endorphins were going, and I was just cruising on the freeway, minding my own business, having a good time in La La Land. I was reflecting, jamming out, really feeling the music. And sure enough, got pulled over for a speeding ticket. I was 100% wrong. I was definitely speeding. Honestly, I was just like, I was in the moment. I was completely, I don't want to say zoned out, but I was going over in my head. I was just like, man, I really miss having my sport cars. I should be getting, I wonder if I should get a sport car. And sure enough, as soon as that happens, I just see the red and blue lights behind me. Okay, I go pull over to the side I exit the freeway, get out. It's quick. Didn't really talk to the police officer or anything like that, But
he gave you a ticket? He didn't give you a warning or anything?
No, he didn't give me a warning. I got a ticket, yeah.
How fast were you going?
81 and a 65.
That's not bad.
That's 16. Well, yeah, 16. It's a $233 ticket. He was really cool about it. And again, I was, I said only.
You're right.
I thought it was going to be a lot more. I was thinking I was going to do like 500. I don't know. I've never gotten a speeding ticket before. This is my first time. So it is what it is. I'll take it. I'll take my lumps. I know that whether it was intentional or whether, it was malicious or whatever, I did something that I wasn't supposed to be doing. And so for that, I have to be accountable.
Taking responsibility for his actions.
That's what we have to do. I mean, what am I going to do? Make up an excuse? Because I use hand controls. I could have just been
okay. So real quick, right? A lot of people, we don't know a lot of people that are in a wheelchair or have challenges, right? How do you drive, but how do you do brakes and gas and all that good stuff?
So every car is different. They do have, I drive with what's called hand controls. And so basically it's an attachment add-on. They have simple ones that you can get on Amazon for a couple $100 or around between $100 and $200. And then they just, the better they get, the more the price increases, right? So basically, for me, the way I have it set up is I have my steering wheel, and then right below my steering wheel, like where the turn signals and windshield wipers, I have a hand control. So basically, it's a knob, kind of like this microphone knob right here. And I push it to hit the brakes, and then I pull it to hit the acceleration. And typically what I do, especially if I'm on the freeway like I was today, I'll just throw it on cruise control. And so, I was driving, I probably had it like at 75 on cruise control. And then I don't know if I was coming from, honestly, I don't even remember. I was on 90, but I don't exactly remember what part of 90. And yeah, it is what it is. And hand controls, they also have other ones that are, if you can have them on the right-hand side. So mine's on the left-hand side. So one hand's always on the hand control, and then the other one's on the steering wheel. Some of them have it to where it's like closer to your thigh, and you push it to brake and pull to the accelerator, but it almost looks like a shift knob.
Sure.
So you have different ones. Mine's actually pretty cool. I didn't pay for it, but the VA got it for me. And
how long did it take you to learn how to drive?
So I did. Luckily I was. The VA does offer classes, and so I did three driving sessions, and then I went to go retake my test.
And so you do have to go retake your test?
Yeah, you have to go do the written and the driving portion again.
Okay.
And which is crazy because it's been at that point I was 30, so I was 30 years old, and so I had gotten my license when I was like 16 or 15. Yeah, 16.
Sure.
And I remember being really nervous the first time I went when I was a teenager, and I went in there and I took my test, and I was like, this time it wasn't even like that. It was just like, okay, here we go again. I got to do this. And then
did they make you do parallel parking?
Yeah, everything.
That sucks.
I like parallel parking though. I can't do it here at this parking lot, but I like to always reverse into the I like all that stuff. I love driving. It's so much fun.
All right, cool. So what are we talking about today?
Confronting regret, which is something that I think we all deal with, in one way, shape, or form. And again, I'm going to be reading a chapter on regret by Jocko in this handy dandy book And then after that, I'm going to be going over KIBU HQ, online platform for all walks of life, all abilities, and, their role and, how they can help anyone. They've helped me, and so how they can help anyone, trying to get back into it, learn life skills, or, working out with when you're in a situation like mine, or, with any kind of, I don't want to say disability, but any adaptive requirements. But yeah, to start, I'm going to be going over chapter on regret.
Okay, cool. Now, you're not, each week we read the book, or
Right.
you read the book. We're not going chapter by chapter.
No, I bounce around.
Okay.
The first 2 weeks I did the first two
Yeah.
chapters, but I felt like that was just introduction. Now
Gotcha.
this one is like a little further down the book, page 50, if you do have it,
Okay, cool beans. Go for it.
and it says, regret. Regret, the things I could have done differently or learned sooner. There's so much knowledge out there, so much information, so many ways to get better. And we make so many mistakes. We are the product of our mistakes. And oftentimes, the lesson is sitting in front of our face, there to be learned. But we miss it, or we don't pay attention to it, or we think we know better until it punches us right in the face. The most important thing to learn is that we have so much to learn. We all do. And we all can learn, and we can learn from school and people and experience and life. But you have to process the information, absorb it. You have to accept it. You have to open your mind, free your mind, so that you can learn and make real progress. Are there things I regret and things I wish I could have done differently? Of course. Hindsight is 20/20. And looking back, who wouldn't want to take another go at something and improve by doing it again and again and again? Who wouldn't want to do things over until you have it perfectly? But the fact is, you don't get that chance. You get one shot. We get one shot at this gig right here. Life. One life. That's all we've got. And the most important thing to understand about regret is that in the end of it, in it of itself, regret is worthless. It does nothing for you. In fact, the only valuable thing in regret is a lesson you learn, the knowledge you gain. But walking around filled with regret gets you nothing. So, learn and move on. Don't let regret beat you down. Don't be a slave to regret. No. Let it teach you. Let it make you better. Let the fear of regret fuel you to take action today, now. Take action. Take action now to become a person not filled with regret, but a person filled with knowledge, strength, and power. This one was really good. And the funny thing is, I had worked on this over the weekend, the outline for this week, and sure enough, today, made a mistake, ran into a situation, but do I regret it? Do I regret speeding? No, honestly, I don't. I was just
Right, yeah.
I was just in the moment. But there are a lot of things, there have been a lot of times where I have been kind of dwelling in the moment or dwelling on the past and things that I wish I could have done differently, things I could have changed. And it's just like it says, it's gotten me nowhere. And all it does is give me anxiety, give me worry. It makes me feel like I'm wrong, or like it's kind of like a stuck point.
So let me ask you, because I have somebody here with me,
Mm-hmm.
and regret's a very interesting term. And so tell me one of your regrets, and I'll share you one of my regrets.
I regret. I'll tell you right now. The biggest thing and one thing that kind of eats at me is I regret not having not being around for my oldest son more when he was younger. I had him when I've talked before, and I had him when I was a teenager, and being away, being in the military, even though I was doing it to kind of give him a life that was better than what I had, or give him a life that I wanted to be able to provide for him and give him all the resources and access to everything he needed, healthcare, a good roof a good house to live in, everything that he needed, right? But it's now that he's older and he's becoming his own man and stuff, and I'm like, man, I just wish I would have been more involved in this. I wish now that I can't kick the ball around with him, now that I can't do more activities with him outside, go hiking or anything like that, I'm like, man, I wish there was a way that I could have done it. I could have been more involved. But in reality, it's like, what more could I have done at that time, right? There's a lot of things that that were out of my control. but they still eat at me. But it's like the way I look at it is not in a negative way, but it's like, okay, well, that happened. And so what can I do right now to make the situation better? So it's not about what I didn't do in the past. It's okay, that what I didn't do in the past is there. It's done. I can't change that at all whatsoever. But what I can do is change how I view those things and my involvement in his life right now. Mm-hmm. And that's probably like one of the ones that like really eats away at me.
Yeah. So it's interesting because the mother of one of my daughters came in and we're working on some projects together. And I think one of my biggest regrets is not being an adult when I was doing adult things, and not understanding the importance of unconditional love, and not from the standpoint of like being together, but that the only thing that mattered was my daughter, and the relationship that I wish I would have cultivated between her mother and I would have been much more mature and working on things together. Even if we decided we weren't going to be together, be better co-parents. And I think that's one thing that I regret. Now, luckily with Sarah, pretty damn awesome kid. On the scale of 1 to 10, you know, she's amazing. But I wish that I could have been a better adult for her mom and for my daughter. And so that's not placing blame on her mom or myself. It wasn't the right time, but I could have done things, not we, I can only speak for myself. I could have done things better to make things better for our daughter. And not only that, I think my biggest challenge is that regret eats at you.
Yeah.
And when you regret things, you start harboring pain and everything else, and you're angry for no reason. And that's what regret does. It eats you in from the inside. She moved on. She did everything she was supposed to do, but I still was eating at myself. So I think regret is really rough sometimes.
100%. I agree. And exactly what you said, I think that's kind of what I was trying to say in some way, shape, or form. I mean, there's parallels there.
Sure.
But you know me, I have a heart, my mind is always going, and so sometimes I start a sentence and I don't even know where I'm going with it. I just keep yapping. But yeah, you can't, like, it does, if you dwell on it too much, you get stuck. And when you get stuck,
100%.
You can't think of anything else that's going on.
Very much so.
And when it eats away at you, you start dealing with like the self-loathing, the depression starts to settle, and then like you can't focus on things outside. It starts to impact your work, your health, whatever the case may be. But it's important. I think it's important to differentiate regret and reflection.
Right.
Because with regret, you're gonna get stuck, and when you get stuck again, it impacts all those things, and there's no growth. There's nothing. But reflection, it's like, okay, this happened, but what can I do to avoid this, and how can I improve from that moment and
100.
improve from that situation? And I will say, like, you know, based on last week, the topic was weakness, and I think that was that was a huge weakness for me. And I mean, I have countless more examples, but it's like I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to live there again, because
it's a reflection.
Yeah.
I mean, I can reflect on some really good times that we had. Right. And especially as she got older and I matured more. Again, I can only speak for myself. But we've had the fact that we can sit down now and talk to each other about doing a project together is huge.
Right.
And I think that shows reflection, that shows and not regret, you know?
Right.
And I literally have no regrets whatsoever. I would never regret my daughters. There's just none.
Right.
I can reflect. It's interesting. Every time I have you in for a podcast, man, it's kind of like, wow. You know, I start thinking about some things. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, I think like how it says in the book, you know, it's like a lot of us wish we could go back and change the things that we did wrong or change some of the circumstances. But without those, you know, setbacks, like how would we know that we would be the person that we are today without making those mistakes? Because there's lessons from it, right?
Sure.
It's like if you go back and you have like You ever see that movie Click with Adam Sandler? So he's got
No.
all right, he's got a remote. He's got a TV remote,
Okay.
and he hits the button, and he can pause time. He can rewind time.
Okay.
I don't know if he can go fast forward. It's been a long time since I've seen the movie, but it's like, I don't know. Like, would it be better to have that way? Like, if you could go back and make all those corrections, would it be better? I
Not
don't know.
necessarily.
I don't know. I don't know, because I think the lessons from it are what gives you that experience. It allows you to grow. It's character development, right? And
Yeah, you can't change the past.
right,
It's hard. You can change your future. You can change how you react to things now,
right,
but you cannot change the past.
right.
So
And I think when it's on things, especially like when it's arbitrary stuff, little small petty things that don't really matter, it's like, yeah, sure. When I play Xbox and I go back and I throw an interception in Madden or NCAA, I'm like, oh, I wish I could go back. It's just, that's stupid. That's petty. It's a video game. Who cares? But when it comes down to like life and family, like family stuff, I think that's where it's always difficult, because sometimes it feels like once you make a mistake that's so catastrophic or devastating, it kind of alters a relationship forever.
well, it becomes a core memory.
Right.
Right? Those memories that are core, but why do we create those core memories? I was talking to my sister about some of these things. When they happen, especially big things, become core memories. And those core memories stick with you, and it's hard to get rid of them. But then meditation, prayer, staying in the moment, you then see it, that you can get by it. But some of those things just don't leave.
Right. Right. And we're all flawed. We're all faulted. There's no one in this world that's perfect. And even though like nowadays, a lot of people like to portray that image, and I don't want to generalize at all, but you go on social media and you see people living their best life. You don't see what happens behind the scenes and stuff like that, or all the work and effort that went into something, or all the lessons learned, all the mistakes that we've made along the way. We just see the beautiful side of things, that when we go out there and we compare, say it's one of our classmates, one of our coworkers, one of our family members, and like, man, they got there, they did that, and then we look at our lives and we compare when we shouldn't be compared, but we compare and we're like, man, that could have been me, or I could have gotten, maybe I should have gotten that promotion, maybe I should have got that raise, whatever the case may be. And it's like, when you start to dwell on that, it's horrible. Being stuck in that position, I think it's like running in mud or in quicksand. You feel like you're stuck in quicksand, no matter how fast you run or how much progress you make in everything, because everything else could be going well in your life. You could be doing well in so many other things, but if you don't get over that moment or that situation, and your life is like that, you're just going to go back. So no matter how good you're doing, you're going to go back and dwell in that moment and be filled with that. And it's a horrible place to be, but
yeah, it's and I'm going to say, and it may come across silly, but it's kind of like somebody talks about walking, right? And man, I got to walk this place. And then God takes away your legs, and now you got to roll somewhere. And in some senses, rolling is a little bit easier than walking.
in some senses, yeah.
So God gave you something, or the universe gave you something that you asked for. So there's always a bright side.
Right.
There's always another way to look at something. And that's me being extremely privileged and not in a wheelchair and not having made their health concerns. But it's all how we process things. It's all how we look at things.
Exactly. With you right now, you just said it's all how we process things. What are some steps, if I might ask, what are some steps or some things that you've done, that you've done to kind of improve the situation, or kind of, I don't want to say get over it, but kind of like reshape the way you think about a situation?
What situation?
Any kind of regret that you may have had.
Oh, realizing that there's nothing I can do about it, staying in the moment, not letting imperfect get in the way of possible. I mean, those are the big things, right? It's understanding that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now because of the decisions that I made.
Right.
Nobody else put me here. No amount of anything put me in this place.
Right.
I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And if I want to change that, I can change it. Now, I can make excuses, or I could say, but I'm this, or but I'm that, or, I know that because I'm black, I might have to work harder. So it's not an excuse, but it is a truth. But no, there's nothing holding me back except for myself, 100%.
Right. And so what actions did you take? Like when you say you said you kind of changed the way you view things, but were there any tools or resources, or was it just all like, internal, and you kind of just like
Mostly internal, no real tools. You figure out that beating your head against the wall long enough is going to do nothing but scar your head. It's not going to change anything. So you stop beating your head against the wall. You stop bringing up old shit. I'm more mature, aka older. So you find out these things as you mature. This stuff doesn't matter. The only thing that matters right now are my daughters. My relationship with their mothers does not matter. The past relationship with their mothers does not matter. The job that I got fired from for showing up late does not matter, right? What matters now is I have a podcast production studio, a video production studio. Even when we've been like, hey, Kev, I have to, postpone, or you had to postpone, that doesn't matter. Every day is a new day. I truly believe that our cells, that we are reborn every single day. There was some study, I want to say it was like 30,000 or 300,000 or 3 million of our cells in our body die every single day and are replaced. We are literally rejuvenated every single day. Now, it catches up to us with age and everything else like that. But who I was yesterday is not who I am today. And I can't go back and change the person. So it's a mentality thing, right? It's a mind game,
Yeah. And so like, it takes a lot to get to that point though, because we're so, we're creatures of habit. We're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? Until we realize that it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
so was there like a specific moment in your life that you were like, okay, I got to take a step back, and I can't keep thinking, I can't keep doing it this way, or I'm going to drive myself crazy, or I'm not going to get, it's not going to
No, I'm still driving myself crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's still a challenge. If you want a challenge in life, become an entrepreneur. If you want to know what life really is about, become an entrepreneur. Do something to where you have to make payroll. Right. You have to pay people. People rely on you outside of a kid, right? Do that, and that shows you. So yeah, I'm still learning, man. I'm still learning. Matter of fact, I have something I'm going to called the Atlas Project, and it starts in February, and it is a very expensive thing, and I've gotten an angel that is taking care of part of it for me. I have to come up with the other part of it. I'm coming up with the other part of it. And it's a life-changing experience. So even in my wise, mature age, I'm still growing. So there's not one tool, right? I'm not saying I'm Jocko, but I could put together a book of quotes and the feelings and stuff like that. But you never stop learning. The best of the best never stop learning. They never stop doing.
Right. That's a good perspective. I learn something new every time I come in here and we talk. This is good. This is kind of like therapy for me, honestly. It's very
it kind of is. I don't know when we talk, and it's being, man, it's hard because I have two people in here. One that knows me pretty good. One that's brand new to knowing me, my intern. And it's hard for men sometimes to be vulnerable. It's hard for us to really just let down the wall and talk about shit that really fucking sucks sometimes. And so, but this is where we are, and this is who we are, and we live with it, we move forward, and we do what we're supposed to do.
Right. Yeah. This is actually, now I'm starting to feel some type of way, because now
don't go get in your truck and go get another ticket.
This is, no. Man, hope not. I got to go get one of those speed.
So what have you learned? What's been one of your big lessons? You've done a lot of things. You've been divorced. You've been married. You have 2 kids. What's been something? What's a mantra or something you live by on a daily basis that helps you out?
A mantra. I think So before I get to the mantra, because there's one that just immediately hit me, but to go back and say, like, when I'm talking about the processes or exact moments, after my last deployment, I started going to mental health, get mental health therapy, talk to a therapist and stuff like that, because I would really dwell on situations that I genuinely could not change and I didn't have closure on.
Right.
And they would eat at me, situations when I was deployed, and I don't want to get into it too much, but I remember going, like, just learning, going to talk to a therapist, because I used to have this perspective, or the way that I used to think that therapy was going to be or what it was. I just go over there and I talk to someone and I just like tell them how I'm feeling and, you know, yada, yada, yada. But no, it's like genuine hard work. There's processes, there's actual like programs out there that help you kind of get over things. And for me, I started off for PTSD. I started off with something called prolonged exposure. And what that is I used to have a really hard time talking about that moment. So it was eating away at me on the inside, but I couldn't talk to anybody. I refused to talk to anyone because I felt like some sort of weakness. I felt some sort of, I didn't know how to put it to anyone. I don't know if they would understand. There was just so much on my mind. And it was really hard to talk about. I'd get some of those physiological responses, you know, some of that anxiety, the sweatiness, rapid heartbeat. And it was just, and after it would just make me feel bad, horrible the whole day. But with prolonged exposure, it's telling that story over and over and over again, and just keep doing it, keep doing it. It doesn't matter how you feel afterwards, and it just gets better and better slowly. And it wasn't until I finished that prolonged exposure where it's like I could actually get through talking through that without feeling the way that I felt almost all the time. And I was like, okay, I'm making progress here. Like there's actual legit progress. That was step one. I thought it was like, it's not like you go to therapy and it's just done. You're all your problems are solved. You're happy-go-lucky all the time. No, because it's just gonna come. It's something pops up. It reminds you, revert back to that moment, takes you back to that place, and it's like all that. It's so easy to feel that all that progress, all that hard work you made has just been completely wiped away. But that's where that next step came in, which is after I did that prolonged exposure, I did CBT or DBT, cognitive behavioral therapy or dialectic behavioral therapy. I think they're one and the same, just different words for them. And that's what that ended up being, was reshaping the way you think about things, reshape the way you talk to yourself. So instead of saying, oh, I'm a piece of crap because something I did or something I didn't do, it's like, okay, well, again, that happened. I can't change that. And I don't know, I don't have a response. I don't have a solution for it. I don't know what the final verdict was, right? In this case, it was an explosion, people got hurt, and medical treatment, dealing with leadership, and it was tough. And I'll never know, to this day, I'll never know what happened to those people. And that used to keep me in such a bad place that I didn't know how to handle it. I felt like crap all the time, so what I do? Start drinking. Why? Because drinking would just take all that stuff away from me. And that was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, it's, you know, I'm a guy, go hang out with my guy friends, we drink and we just shoot the shit and, you know, everything's cool. But it's like, after that, after you're away from those people and you're alone and you're by yourself. Yeah, you're by yourself, and then maybe you're dealing with the hangover, and then it's like your world just starts collapsing and starts caving in. And it's like, well, that I still don't have the solution for. I don't know what happened, and I can't change it, but I still feel the way that I do. But with that prolonged exposure and then CBT, DBT, it was like, okay, well, just reshape the way you talk. And you know what? That may have been a circumstance that I lived through, but that's not who I am. That doesn't define me. That's not correct. Yeah. You know, and it was like that light bulb went off in my head. Mantra that I live by, that I really like, is in Matthew 7:14. And I'm going to butcher this quote, but it says something somewhere along the lines that says, "Narrow is the gate and straight is the way that leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it." And so to me, that is like, okay, well, every day, like you said, we get that. Every day is a new day, and we get that opportunity to make things right or do things the right way, and that's what it is. So when I start feeling the way that I do based on that situation, it'd be so easy to go back to drinking. It'd be so easy to do, like, you know, anything crazy, but I don't want to do that because I know how I feel. Like it might make me feel good in that moment, but once that moment's done, it's like it's back to square one, and I still have to live with the person that I am. And if I do things the right way with integrity and just in discipline, and make sure that I'm making the right decisions, one decision at a time, not looking at everything from like this is my end goal and this is that's all I'm focused on. It's everything that I have to do on a day-to-day basis to get to that point. And that's what it was for me. But I mean, this is probably like one of the deepest and kind of coolest episodes that we've done so far. But you know, because it's real, it's raw. It's like this is something that really resonates with me. And yeah.
I one of the things is it's easy to have podcasts, Joe Rogan show, Call Me Daddy, you know, but I think sometimes when people just talk, like, I think sometimes that's what we need to do, and I think that's what people need to hear. We need to hear about regret. We need to hear about our stories. We need to hear like what's our next step in life or what we've learned. I have this whole idea for a series as I lose my weight at some point, and I want to call it I Am the Guru. But it's not because I am the guru, it's you are the guru. But when you see the book and you read through the book, it's saying that you already have these answers. All we have to do is unlock these things.
Right.
You had the answers through therapy. You just had to unlock it.
Right.
The different types of therapy, you have it. You don't necessarily have on how to raise kids, but you get there, right? You learn and you stay in the moment. But yeah, it's. I think we have the keys. We have all the keys, especially as you get older.
Right.
You have all the keys. You know the difference between right and wrong. You know when you hurt somebody's feelings, and if you choose to hurt those people's feelings again, you wind up hurting your own feelings. And I think once you realize that, it's you. It's not the other person. It's you.
Right.
You are the God. You are the guru. You are that person. You have the God within you already. We were born with these things inside of us. We just have to have them unlocked, but we have to be willing to have those unlocked.
Right.
And once you start unlocking them, man, the world is just a completely different place. But there's no one person that has all the keys.
Right.
Buddha didn't stop learning. Jesus didn't stop learning. Gandhi didn't stop learning. Martin Luther King didn't stop learning. All these people who we look at and say are greatness, Mother Teresa, they never stopped learning. They continue to learn. They continue to meet people. And I think when you live, to bring it back, when you live with regret, you stop living because you're living in the past. And one of these, I'd love to get deep into this one day, but when you live in the past, it's controlling your future. And when it's controlling your future, you have no now, because your now is the only thing that you have. So your now, if you're not in the now, then you can't even see your future, because you're in the past. If you're living too much in your dreams in the future, then that's being controlled because you're regretting the past. And so now you're thinking about this future, but all we have is right now. We have literally this moment right here. After these words come out of my mouth, nothing else matters. I can't go back and change them. Right. So you have to, so that goes to be slow to speak and quick to listen. And I haven't always practiced that.
Right.
I talk way too damn much.
It's difficult. Yeah, no, it's definitely difficult, especially like if it's an emotionally charged situation.
Yeah, very much so.
We're only human. We have these impulses, and if
Tell me
something
something.
cuts deep.
What's the foundation that you want to talk about with the Billy Blanks guy?
I'm sorry?
The Billy Blanks?
Oh, okay. KIBU HQ.
Yeah, KIBU
formerly
HQ.
Home Field Fit.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so I'm going to go over just a quick overview I have of them, but in a nutshell, KIBU HQ is this online platform. It's for people of all abilities, whether you need adaptive requirements or not. It's kind of like an all-in-one app or location. They don't have an actual app yet, but like platform, I guess. So KIBU HQ is an all-in-one platform focused on providing accessible life skills, fitness, and job development resources for people of all abilities. It offers educational content and administration tools, primarily aimed at disability service providers. The platform includes 300 plus pre-recorded videos and daily live stream classes in fitness, job training, and life skills with interactive lessons to boost engagement. KIBU's approach promotes a supportive, inclusive environment with live shoutouts and real-time interactions during classes. It's also trusted by major organizations like the Special Olympics and featured on shows like the Tamron Hall Show, highlighting its impact and credibility. I've actually had the access to this website. I used it before. I haven't been on there lately, but I really need to get back on there. But I found out about it. They reached out to me a couple years ago, and then this was when I was doing. I just started posting videos on kind of like my recovery, and I was training jiu-jitsu. Thanks to the We Defy Foundation, which sponsored my training. I was doing wheelchair basketball, and so I was putting all this stuff out there. They reached out, and I was able to have a meeting with them. And kind of when I went on there, I saw that they had things like resume building. They had adaptive fitness, so whether it be like Taekwondo or just regular weightlifting or anything like that. It was pretty interesting and pretty cool because, as being brand new, fresh to a wheelchair, I didn't know that things like this were available. And honestly, to my knowledge, KIBU HQ is the only one that I've actually seen out there. And then when I logged into, I didn't know what to expect. I logged into the website and I saw that they have, calendar on what classes or what day, what seminars, if you will, they're going to be having and what they're going to be going over. And saying that, there's people out there that are, willing to help you and provide these resources and that you can do it. So even though I'm not in a class, like I think they're home based in Connecticut, or they might have just moved to Minnesota recently, relocated. But seeing that, it's like kind of like a classroom environment, but from the luxury of your home, which is the beautiful thing about today. Everything, like a lot of things are online and you can do everything. You don't even have to leave your house if you want to watch a brand new movie these days. You know what I mean? So having access to those things and, being able to work on it and feel comfortable, where it's like, hey, they're showing me step by step by the numbers how to do this. It's actually pretty interesting. And then seeing other people with other types of adaptive necessities, it's like, oh wow, like this is actually pretty interesting. And even like some of the things don't necessarily apply to me. Like, I have like my godmother. She has a son with Down syndrome. My godbrother, and he's older. He's 21 now, with Down syndrome, and so, he's out of school. He's out of like those programs where you have people come over and kind of help you do your like occupational therapy type of work. Well, this is there, and this is like he can see that people just like him are going out there and getting these resources and learning how to cook, how to go buy groceries, work on a grocery list, do a resume, which is something that I had never even considered. Like, I'd never even considered like what it would be like, for someone.
Like people don't realize how to do some of that stuff.
Right, yeah.
And what's really funny is, not funny, but interesting about society is that we all think that we know how to budget, we know how to do a shopping list, we know how to do a grocery list, but there are some tried and true practices that make life a little bit different. And easier for us. And so there are sites out there, but we think we know it all until you stumble on a site like this. You're like, oh, well, shit, I could do this. Like literally they were showing somebody how to cook ramen noodles, which is hilarious, right? And I didn't do it the way they did it. My ramen noodles come out really good. But again, this is for people that have some challenges. But I think we can always learn for sites like this. I think a site like KIBU is KIBU, K-I-B-U?
K-I-B-U.
Yeah, and it's going to be, it's pretty special, so.
Yeah, and it's honestly it's well built. I need to get back on there because I did do a couple of their classes and stuff. It's a subscription based. So once you log in, again you have access to the calendar, and then you go in there and you choose what you want to do, and then it keeps track of the things that you do. So like if you attend something, it'll show that you attended, so you can track your own progress and look back and be like, you know what, I did that.
Okay, cool.
And then you have that reference to whenever if you're working on something, you forget some of the material. You can go back and look at it directly, because a lot of local seminars, you're there once and
that's it.
And that's it. If you ask, maybe sometimes you get like a slideshow that they have or something with a little bit more information. But having this, it's like always available. Like it's always whenever you need it. And I think they're doing great things. And they have, it's everything. They have professionals from all walks of life go on there and talk, drop information nuggets on everything. And if like you said, if it doesn't apply to you, then it doesn't, but you may know someone.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
be able to help someone and point them in the right directions. Like, hey, have you considered this? Yeah. So if you know someone, or if you're just genuinely interested or curious, definitely go check them out. Great company, great organization. The people on there are amazing too. And yeah.
All right. So what else are you thinking about today? We're almost close to wrapping up.
Well, that's for the most part, that's like what I had to discuss, but. Last week we were talking about homework, and
how's your homework going?
Great.
Good.
I have an A in the class, and I'm so happy because I was bummed out when I turned in that assignment late. And then the only points I've dropped from that class so far have been from turning in my assignments late. Everything else has been like full credit.
There's no reason when you turn, you're what, 45 now? No. But there's no reason like you should have any challenges with school. Like you should be a straight A student, dude. Like,
I should be, but sometimes I get lazy.
I'm sorry, you can be a straight A student if that's what you want. Let me say that. It's not a should. We can tell people all day long. I'll never forget telling my belly dance client one time, she came off the stage and the first thing I said to her was like, you should do this. She's like, don't you ever fucking tell me what I should do. I worked my ass. I was like, oh shit, I fucked up. So I don't tell people what they should do.
Yeah.
So you should be, but you could be, you can be the greatest student you want to. So it's you put in the work, and you're putting in the work.
Yeah, now I am. But now it's like I'm doing, and again, it's maybe not necessarily regret in this thing, but now just saying, okay, no, this is what I have to do, like full-fledged. If I'm gonna do something, I have to commit all the way.
Yeah.
Because before, my way of thinking was, okay, I'll start school, I'll log in, whatever the class is, I'll review the syllabus, and I'll start looking at line by line.
Yeah.
And then my mind will start wanting to say, okay, well, this is how many points total my assignments are for the year. At what point can I start missing assignments, or how many assignments can I miss and still pass the class?
Yeah.
Right? That's how it used to be.
Yeah.
And it's to this day, I fight that. This weekend, for example, I was out at the ranch, and we're working on the ranch. It's a mobile home. It's not accessible at all. I don't have a bed in there. I sleep on the couch when I'm there in the living room. And so this weekend was a little rough. I was there. Absolutely no privacy. I'm in the living room, and I'm just laying there on the couch. I don't have my room, and so I have my little brother and sister there, and then we had some family over, and I had I was just drained and dead tired, and the sleep at night was miserable that night because I had my service dog in training there. His name's Freedom, and it was a new place for him, and so he was kind of like skittish, and so he was barking because he couldn't see me, and he wanted to be around me, and I just did not sleep. I had no sleep Friday. I had no sleep Saturday, and I had to do my homework assignment on Sunday. And I was like, man, I'm not feeling well. And that thought came in. I was like, well, I can just turn in my homework assignment tomorrow, and then I'll just lose 5 points or whatever the case may be. But I was like, no, not
when
anymore.
We do the hardest things, they always say you wake up in the morning and do the hardest things, right? Things. I had to sit up this weekend and edit video, and then somebody sent me back this thing. It was like, oh, can you give me this? And I'm like, so I did a pay what you can for these comedians. And some of the comedians treated me really good, and other comedians didn't treat me so good for pay what you can. But the one that didn't treat me great came back, and he was like, can you make these changes? And I'm like, I made the decision to do pay what you can, right? So and he wanted to make a change, and I'm going to make the change for him. It is what it is. So, yeah. We do things that we don't always like, but when we do them, we're better for it.
Yeah, exactly. And so yesterday, Monday morning, I woke up, and instead of having that thought where I was like, oh man, I got to do my homework because I didn't do it yesterday, and having that stress, and I was just like, I'm good. I did it.
You got time.
I did it.
Yeah,
it's done.
100%. 100%.
So I don't regret not doing my homework.
Sure.
So, yeah. But overall, today we went over confronting regret. Not dwelling on the past, separating regret from reflection, putting a plan in place to take the appropriate steps to get out of that hole, not dwell on the past. You can learn from it. There's definitely a lesson there. And you got to make sure you take the appropriate steps not to keep repeating the same mistakes. And overall, just not being stuck. And then we went over KIBU HQ. KIBU HQ, great website for everything. Life skills, fitness, anything you can think of is going to be on there. So definitely check them out. And we'll be back next week. Thank you for joining. Out.